You don't have to learn all of the names of the bones and muscles, but you do need a little bit of anatomy if you want to be able to draw the back. Here are the essentials and what you need to know. The spine has different sections. These are going to become very important. The scapula isn't just a triangle that you can forget about. You can use it to place the traps, lats, and delts. I'll get into this. This part of your shoulder blade is called the spine of the scapula. It sticks out. It's kind of like a collarbone, but on your back. It's really important because we're going to place a lot of muscles around this point. And same thing with the spine. You have different parts of the spine. So first let's talk about the lats. The lats, or latissimus dorsi, is this huge muscle that gives you that winged appearance. So they go from T7 to L5. What does that mean? Okay, so your spine has 4 sections. First you have the neck part, and those are called cervical vertebra. And you have 7 of those. We just call them C1, C2, C3, all the way to C7. And then you have a part of your spine called the thoracic, and those are the vertebrae that have ribs attached to them. And thoracic vertebra, that's why you get the T for thoracic, those go from T1 all the way down to T12. The third section of the spine is the lower back, and those are the lumbar vertebra, and you have 5 of those. And then you get into your hip section. We can just put an S for sacrum, but there are actually 5 that are fused there. Okay, back to muscles. The lats go from T7 down to L5. So you don't need to count out vertebrae all the time, but just know that T7 is about the middle of the ribs. And then it goes all the way down to L5. So that's at the bottom, right before the hips start. They swing all the way up and around, and they attach to the top of your upper arm bone. That's called the humerus. And the muscle swings around like this. It's kind of a corset, if you know what that is. Now, it's not all muscle all the way to the spine. And then you have this little line right here. And beyond that, it's just fascia, all the way down to L5. Now let's get to the traps. The traps are a very important upper back muscle, and they go from your head to your shoulders and then almost all the way down your back, and kind of in a diamond shape. Now you can actually divide the traps into 3 different groups. So you have the superior, so they go from the skull to the bottom of your neck, and they kind of swing around like this. And then you have the mid traps that go from T1 down to T4. That's the first thoracic vertebra all the way down to the 4th thoracic vertebra. All of the traps start above this part of the scapula. Remember that part of the scapula that I said is the spine of the scapula? It's this almost like a collarbone on your back. So the traps all start above that. Look where those lines are starting, from T1 to T4. So those are your middle traps. And then you have your inferior or lower traps, and those go from T5 all the way down to T12. Now what I'd like to point out here is that the traps go over the lats. There's that crossover there. Remember to start above that spine of the scapula and bring it all the way down to T12. You see that they're going to overlap the lats, and you get this formation, kind of a diamond-shaped formation. This is why it's so important to have a good idea of the skeleton. You see that spine of the scapula? Now the lats are all coming over that, almost like a waterfall. Now let's go for the shoulder, or the deltoid muscle. It has 3 parts as well. There's the front that you can't see from this angle. The side, I think we might be able to see a little bit of it, but I want to talk about the rear. Now the rear delts also attach to the shoulder blade, to the scapula, and also to the spine of the scapula. But they attach underneath that spine, right there. So the traps attach above it, the delts attach below it. From there, you kind of swing it around. And at the very tip of the spine of the scapula there, it's called the acromion. And the middle traps do attach to that, so I'm just going to put those in. All right, there's this big hole right here between the delts and the traps and the lats. We have some smaller or minor muscles, and these are all involved in moving the arm. I'll show you how they work in just a few lines. You can draw them basically like a couple of bumps, like this, almost like a Y shape. But just for completeness sake, you have the supraspinatus, so above the spine. It's talking about the location in relation to the spine of that scapula. Supraspinatus is just here. And then you have the infra, or below the spine of the scapula, and that attaches to the humerus, or the upper arm bone, just like that. And then you have two more. You have the teres major, which is down here, also attaching to the humerus. And then you have the teres minor, lastly, a much smaller muscle, but also attaching to the humerus. I hope that really helps explain why you need an understanding of the skeleton in order to correctly place the muscles. As always, thank you so much for those of you who have supported me by buying my How to Draw book. It really does mean a lot to me. And for those of you who are happy to like and comment on this video, I really would appreciate it. Keep learning and keep drawing.